You guys ever wonder what would happen if I did an episode all by myself? Anybody? It's not as funny when Casey's not here. Anyway, hey gang, welcome to the Beacon House podcast. This is kind of a bonus episode. You've got Spencer McCoy coming at you right here, and coming at you solo. I'm doing this episode by myself because I wanted to talk to you guys about something we call Burn the City. And if you guys have been following the podcast, any of you would know that Hunter and I are in a band together, and Casey's actually involved in this too. So I thought I'd maybe take a little bit of time here. I'm actually cutting this episode from home to kind of share with you guys a little bit about what Burn the City is. We've been talking about it for a minute, and I kind of wanted to finally reveal it. So go ahead and buckle up, get ready, and we're going to tell you about this little band we've got called Burn the City. All right. So first things first, what is Burn the City? Okay. If any of the Beacon House listeners here remember basically when we did a Christmas video a little while back at the end of our first year, and we're all in there and we play a rendition of Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, and it was goofy, but basically the members of Burn the City were the band that you saw in the Christmas video, but in a more serious context. That's actually kind of a high energy rock, and on our Instagram we refer to it as adventure rock. But regardless, that's what we are, and we're going to share a little bit of the music. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the members, one of which you're already familiar with hearing about on the podcast, and that's Hunter. You guys hear from Hunter all the time, at least whenever he shows up. Sorry, Hunter, I had to. But at any rate, before we get into that, I want to tell you guys the origin of the name, because it got a little weird in the last year when there were all the riots and the cities were literally being burned, or all the wildfires in California. And we actually had a lot of people asking us if we named the band after the protests or after what's going on in California. And I just wanted to clear it up real quick. We absolutely did not. Name of the band has nothing to do with any of that stuff. And I will reveal it now. I will reveal it. I'll reveal it right now, how we came up with the name Burn the City. Basically, if you've ever tried to come up with a band name, if you've ever been a band and tried to come up with a band name, it's incredibly hard. It's exponentially hard. And the way we eventually kind of addressed this issue is we came up with a whole bunch of names. We were kind of voting on them. Nobody was really happy with all of them. Like, some people liked a couple of them. Some people liked a couple others. But just all in all, it was not good. And there are a few members of Burn the City who are avid D&D players, one of which is Hunter, the other of which is Dylan. And you will remember this if you go back to our episode called Into the Breach. That was about a year ago. Anyway, 1 week after a band practice or something like that, we were still completely undecided on a name. We'd been together for like a year, already started recording songs, and I believe somebody was talking about a D&D campaign they did. Now, I'm not a big D&D player, so this didn't necessarily make sense with me, and I was kind of packing my stuff up to leave, and I heard Hunter's wife, Miss Libby Barnhart, Miss Eliza Weathers, the voice of the Beacon House podcast intro, if you will. You guys know her and you love her. She's also been a guest on our podcast a couple times, but someone was discussing something that happened in one of the cities in their D&D campaign, and something like, well, we didn't need anything out of that city, and it was totally full of ogres, so why even go there? Why don't we just burn the city? And when the words came out of her mouth, that was Libby that said that. When the words came out of her mouth, it just lit up in my brain, and I was like, that's it. Burn the City. That's the band name. And everybody kind of thought, well, what are you talking about? What's going on? I was like, no, man, that's got to be it. And again, it doesn't really mean anything. It just sort of has a phonetic ring to it that I thought was nice. And I thought it was easy to remember. And pretty soon we had some people on board designing artwork. Hunter has been designing characters, so it's kind of got a mythology behind it. And one of the earliest things that you may have seen, or you'll see artwork about it, is sort of this broken light bulb head guy, which you can see that if you look at some of our artwork on our Instagram or coming up maybe on Spotify. For the record, all the songs that I'm sharing today are streaming on Spotify or iTunes, all the wherever you go to get music. So you can look up Burn the City. You may have to search Burn the City Knox, but you'll be able to listen to these songs after this episode. They're not going to be strictly here, but that's the origin of the Burn the City name. And it literally just came wrong out. So we, once again, just like setting up this podcast, we have to credit Miss Libby Barnhart for naming our band. And everybody went with it, and that was it. So let's move on to Hunter, the singer, the principal singer in Burn the City. There's actually several really talented singers in the band. I'm not one of them. But I've known Hunter for quite a while. Hunter actually kind of, our relationship sort of originated at the same local center of the universe, Joe Muggs, where I also met Casey and started like a whole bunch of bands, including my old band, Verona, and what have you. And Hunter would sort of hang around there, and he was a very, very quirky art kid. He was always wearing something crazy. Sometimes he would just show up in a bizarre mask for no reason, like not even around Halloween, you know. He would always be carrying Godzilla toys. Sometimes he would just bring his toys over to the table, and like, you know, he was very, very, very strange guy. But it didn't take very long to realize that he was extremely intelligent and extremely lucid musically, and he had all kinds of incredible ideas, especially on songwriting. And you know, we just kind of bonded. And of course, that's where the idea came up. One of these days, we've got to start a band together. We've got to at least record some music together. And it took a long time. That was probably like 2009 or 2010. So here we are, like a whole decade later. The first time anybody's really hearing about this, but it took us a while to get that going. Well, we finally got there. And I used to go, and Hunter was in a band called East Toward Macedonia. And they actually played a lot of places around Knoxville here. They had a huge following. And when you hear Hunter sing, it's not hard to understand why they had such a huge following. But the other guys in the band were great, really good guitar players, really good songwriters. And I remember going to see them, and I would just marvel at how this guy... See, I can do this on my own because he's not sitting here. If he was sitting here, I wouldn't be able to keep a straight face. But I would marvel at how this guy sang and the authenticity with which he sang. And that's a big thing because a lot of singers have, you know, you can have classically trained singers that are just kind of phoning it in, but this wasn't it. I mean, this was really coming from a personal place inside him. And I remember paying to see him at Open Chord Music here in Knoxville. And I believe he had just had a death in the family, and he really, really got in there and poured it out. And it was just super personal. And like, he's just a natural front man and an incredible musician. And I just knew that we had to do something together. I just knew I wanted to work with this guy. He had all the things that I like in a bandmate or some songwriting partner. So we've been in touch for a long time. Cut to a few years later when some things started to happen, when the Beacon House studio sort of started to originate, thanks to none other than Casey Bishop, the other part of the trifecta here on Beacon House. And we'll get more to Casey later. Casey's been involved with Burn the City the whole time, even though he's not technically a member of the band, or insofar as he doesn't play an instrument. Casey is very, very active with what we do, and he is an absolute founding member and a huge part of Beacon House Productions, which might include a ton of things. You can also look up Casey's artistic endeavors on Instagram under Bishop Media. So anyway, starting to originate. Casey suggests the Beacon House podcast. I note I've got some recording equipment and a little studio, we could start doing it there. And it all just sort of comes together at that point. And I call Hunter up and I go, let's write some songs, which started a lot slower than we thought. We didn't even really have a band yet. It was really just he and I. I had a little drum machine. Sometimes we'd use drums on our phone and just try to come up with things. Sometimes Hunter would just sing things. And I would say, well, how fast do you think that goes? What do you think the beat sounds like to that? Could you just sing it into your phone and then email it to me? And I would try to come up with a song around it or something, or I would write a guitar riff and he would just start singing over it. But there really wasn't like a full production. And like I said, we didn't have a full band. And I want to play one of the very first songs we have, maybe the first song he and I ever wrote together. Maybe not, maybe it was like the second or third, but it's actually the one that made the cut and is still in our repertoire. And it's one of the songs that's streaming on Spotify right now. And I got to give him props too. Hunter made a really slick video. He cut up together a lot of scenes from different anime, and put them together in a video for Perfect Design. That's what the name of the song is. And I'm going to go ahead and play it for you right now. Again, you can stream this on Spotify. You can go find this on YouTube. I encourage you to look at the video Hunter made, Perfect Design. You could look up Burn the City, Perfect Design, whatever. You guys will find it. Just check the song out. I'm just going to let the whole thing play right now, and I'll be back to see you guys in a minute.
Blood red sky, I've only just begun. Space in between the stars and sun. Tears hit the floor, go into my run. Ghosts of all that's lost in war and love. Needle thread the vein, arrhythmia drum. Artifice and pain, father and son. Atoms torn apart, made to collide. With none left to mourn some goodbye. You let me out, pretend to wander and drag me down. Beneath the water, perfect design can't clean the blood. Why stay ahead, smoking gun? Pretend you're grown with nothing else to claim. Three left to mourn in unmarked grave. You let me out, pretend to wander, then let me drown. Beneath the water, the mask is down. A way to falter, the face of hell. I found a way out. You should have known better. You should have known better. You should have known. You should have known better. You should have known better. You should have known. You should have known. You should have You let me down with weightless shoulders and turn around. So much older, you should have known. I find a way out.
All right. Welcome back, gang. That was the song Perfect Design by Burn the City. That was the first one I wanted to show you. We wrote with Hunter, and I really dig that song. I like the lyrical content of it a lot. I think he just says a lot of really slick things in it. I don't always know what Hunter's lyrics mean, and a lot of times they have a double meaning, which I think is super cool. At any rate, there's a lot of stuff. So dig back into those lyrics if you get a chance and see if you can find some of the hidden meanings in them. It's actually really, really fun. Well, we move on now to, and don't forget to go look up the anime video that Hunter made for Perfect Design. Moving on to some other bandmates in Burn the City. The next guy I want to introduce you to is Randy Wetzel. Randy Wetzel, probably the most mysterious member of Burn the City because he is completely absent on any form of social media. You're not going to find Randy Wetzel on Facebook, on Instagram. He's kind of an enigma, but if anybody that knows Randy knows that he is a big deal. You can spot him in our Christmas video. If you go back to Very Beacon House Christmas, he's the bassist in that video when it starts out. Later in the video, a lot of people play a lot of different roles, but when the music finally starts, if you look just behind Hunter, you'll see Randy playing the bass, and he also plays the bass in Burn the City. Now, I've known Randy a really, really long time. In fact, we met a long time ago when I worked at Guitar Center, and he's an avid. I would call Randy a multi-instrumentalist. Randy plays a lot of stuff, and unlike a lot of people that play bass and guitar, he actually plays both equally well. He's a phenomenal guitar player, but he also plays bass like a legit bass player. In fact, he's been a legit bass player in many bands, and he is the bassist in Burn the City. One of the bands he was in notably is with our friend Eric Stam back in the day called Amalgam. He also has played with our drummer, Brandon Lee. We're going to get to him a little bit later in multiple bands. And Randy's just been around a long time, and he's also his probably key role, other than being the bass player in Burn the City, he also is sort of our producer. Randy's the guy that actually mixed all these songs, sent them off, worked with the guy to get them mastered, but he's the guy that sweats and pours over the tracks and mixes the stuff and kind of goes, and he's the guy that's burning the midnight oil after we've all gone home, and he's sitting there fiddling with the computer and the plugins, and he really puts the time in. So Randy really, in a lot of ways, is the heart and soul of Burn the City, and he absolutely, these songs wouldn't be there without him. So we owe him a tremendous debt of gratitude, and he totally gets the job done. So we're going to hear a little bit more of his bass playing coming up here really soon. I want to talk about another member of Burn the City. Also, you would have heard this gentleman on our Into the Breach episode, our D&D episode last year. Dylan Chun. Dylan Chun, another extremely important part of Burn the City. Probably our principal songwriter. Dylan is the guy who comes in with a million riffs, and I am in awe of what a great player he is, and he also is a phenomenal singer, and he also has that. In some of our songs, you'll hear a scream going on, and I'm kind of setting up this next track called Synthetic, and I really want you to listen to it. Dylan has the perfect rock / kind of like post-hardcore scream. It's not just metal, it's just, pardon my French, it's just fucking perfect. And he sings backup. Met Dylan, he and I used to work together a long time ago, but then he was in several bands, and I was a huge fan of all the bands Dylan was in. I thought he was in one of the best bands ever to come out of Knoxville. They were called Some Ironic Slogan, and our friend Eric Stam, also in that band, along with a couple other friends, and they were so good that it was ridiculous. And Dylan played most of the guitar and sang in that band, and I was just blown away. And I think he was borrowing some equipment or something one day that I ran into him, and I just said, dude, are you doing anything? Like, are you playing with anybody? And he was like, no, not currently. And I was like, Jesus, do you just want to just come jam? And that's how it all kind of came together. Dylan came down, and he just kind of never left, And I know he's got a lot of other things going on. He's actually, if you go on Instagram, he's writing a comic strip, Banchan Comics. We post about it all the time. That's him. You can follow that. But Dylan is also one of the key elements in Burn the City. I mean, he brings in most of the music. He dares to go where a lot of other guitar players wouldn't go in terms of harmony. He never takes the easy way out, and the band would literally not be anything close to what it is without Dylan and some of the songs. And most of the songs you'll hear in Burn the City, he wrote most of the music and just about all these songs. So big shout out to Dylan. And now, without further ado, we're going to get into one of these songs. We've talked about Randy, and we've talked about Dylan, and this is a really good song that showcases both of these guys. This has you'll hear Randy playing studio level bass in this song, like Nathan East or something. Like it's incredible. He plays so well with the drums and everything, and it's you can really tell he's not just a guitar player playing bass. He actually plays bass the way a real accredited bass player would play. And then everything else in the song pretty much was written by Dylan, except maybe I think I wrote the guitar solo. But anyway, without further ado, this is the next song from Burn the City, also streaming everywhere. This is called Synthetic.
Looks like
I am back, you guys. That was Synthetic by Burn the City, currently streaming everywhere if you want to go back and listen to it again, or not have to sit through a podcast in order to hear it. If you want to put it on a playlist, like, subscribe, the whole bit. I think it's also worth mentioning that if you have been to any of our live events at Central Depot or seen us do an open mic night at Scruffy City Hall with our boy, shout out Brandon Hudson. Hope you're recovering well. I know Brandon just had a surgery and is currently on a little scooter called Rumblefish, and I love him to death, and we wish him a speedy recovery. I think he's doing pretty well now, and we got to get back to rocking. But if you ever noticed Hunter and I doing some acoustic songs anywhere around town, we did an acoustic version of Synthetic several times. So you may have actually heard that one before, but that is the way it's intended to be consumed. That's the actual song there. So anyway, I think it's probably worth now getting to none other than our boy, our friend, my co-founder of the Jive Gang, my brother from another mother, Mr. Brandon Lee. Shout out Brandon, our drummer and friend of Beacon House. Like I said, if you've ever been to one of our live events, not only have you seen us possibly performing an acoustic version of that song, you've definitely seen Brandon Lee there supporting us and living it up to the fullest. So talk a little bit about Brandon. I have known Brandon a really, really, really long time, and he has literally been unbelievable on drums the whole time. It wasn't like I met him and he kind of got good, or he was playing Dream Theater songs literally the moment I met him, and playing them like note for note. And just a solid all-around guy. I got to give Brandon props. Brandon is one of the most skilled musicians I know that still has a sense of humor. You could still be in the same room with him. He doesn't have his head up his own ass. And I'm not pointing any fingers, but if you know any musicians, a lot of guys, when they get that good, they're just kind of hard to be around. And some of them just get a little stuck up. Brandon Lee is the most down-to-earth guy, and he can absolutely shred your fucking eyelids off on the drums. He is phenomenal. And we've known each other forever. We've been in a bunch of bands together now, which I am so happy about. Probably the most notable one that a lot of people came to see was Signs of Life, along with our buddy Eric Stam and our buddy EJ. Shout out. Brandon was also in a phenomenal cover band called The Quorum, and I actually have a story about that. I believe at the time this happened, this would have been during the Signs of Life days, but Brandon had not been doing the cover band thing for a little while. And he gets a call one day, and their drummer has canceled on them or quit or something like that. They've already got a gig booked somewhere here in Knoxville, and they last minute, hey, can you come sit in? And Brandon says, sure, why not? And to my understanding, had no time to practice, no nothing. They're playing songs that he was very familiar with, and so he tells me, hey, I'm playing with the cover band. I go, I'm there. And so I'm going nuts in the crowd for Brandon. I mean, I'm not just a friend of his, legit. I'm a huge fan of his and his drumming and his showmanship. If you see this guy play live, and you better come see us. But if you see this guy play live, you'll go nuts, man. He's the total package. And I'm going crazy. They're playing, they're playing cock rock, they're playing classic rock, whatever, and he is just lighting it on fire. And then the show kind of ends. And this is one of my favorite Brandon stories. The show kind of ends and somebody goes, do Iron Maiden, play The Trooper. So right now, if you're not familiar with the Iron Maiden song, The Trooper, you should pause this podcast, Google it, listen to it. It's no easy thing. It's one of the most exciting Iron Maiden songs, maybe the most iconic Iron Maiden song, depending on who you ask. But regardless, it's not the kind of song a guy just plays off the top of his head. So I was like, and so he goes, sure, let's do it. And they do a searing rendition of The Trooper by Maiden. And afterwards he says, I've never played that song before. I kind of just did it by memory. And I was so blown away. And that's how good this guy is. Okay. And I know, I'm being a little bit egregious now. I'll lay off it. But Brandon, I love you, dude. If you're listening, you're one of my favorite guys. And I'm so honored to be playing with you and all the guys. And we want to go ahead and let you get into a song now. This is the last of the songs on our EP called Sparks, which is on Spotify and whatnot. This is a song called Demons. Also, you'll notice this iconic intro riff that Dylan wrote, and this is the kind of stuff Dylan just comes off the top of his head, and you could write a whole album around it. So it's just real easy to be in bands with guys this talented. And we'll talk a little bit more about Demons, because this is where we get into the the Casey Bishop crossover. How does Casey factor into all this? We made a little video, which you may have seen a while back. But first off, we're going to go ahead and let you guys hear the Burn the City song Demons. I do want to say this sort of came out last year right after Halloween, or right around Halloween, and there was a very spooky Beacon House episode where I told a very horrifying story about a Ouija board. And a lot of people have asked, is this song about that? It is not. It is completely not. This song, and again, Hunter's lyrics are very, very multi-layered, and I feel like they have multiple meanings depending on how you view them. They're kind of ambiguous, which is really the way I like to write songs. You know, it can mean one thing to one person, one thing to another person. So you don't pigeonhole yourself. It kind of opens you up to an audience. But kind of the tone of the song and the theme of the video was about being kind of overtaken by your own demons and like your own personal struggles and battles and things like that. So it is definitely not about my Ouija board experience, but it could be, depending on who you talk to. Anyway, that's enough for me. This is Demons. That was Demons by Burn the City, also streaming everywhere. And, if you listen to the drum break in that song, that's just another testament to the skill and the mastery of Brandon Lee. And then also, one of the things about working with guys like Randy Wetzel, our bass player / producer, he kind of pushed me to write the guitar line that happens in the second half of the verse, which is turned out to be one of my favorite things that I've played in this band at all. And it's one of those where he just knew we needed something else, and he kind of pushed me to come up with that. Otherwise, I might not have ever even dug deep to do that. So that's kind of the cool thing about playing with your friends. You get to experiment things, and you trust each other. And I don't know, man. If you haven't ever started a band with your friends, I recommend it. So anyway, there's one other very important piece of the puzzle that we haven't mentioned yet, and that piece is Casey Bishop, who you've heard many times on this podcast. He's a founding member of the Beacon House. The Beacon House is actually his idea, but Casey has also put up with a lot of crap from us in this band. I mean, we move the microphones around. We record things. Sometimes we're rehearsing right when we need to be doing the podcast. So he's been very patient. Casey doesn't like loud noises. And he definitely has sat in and become basically the sixth member of Burn the City. Now, Casey does not play any musical instruments that I know of. But this is the part where I'm supposed to make a joke about him playing the meat whistle or the skin flute. But you guys already know that anyway. What I'm saying about Casey is Casey, with his talents in the realm of video production and photography and video editing, Casey got together with us and actually made a video for that very last song, Demons. It's on YouTube. You can look it up. We're actually about to release a remastered audio version of it. So the audio's cleaned up a little bit. So there's going to be a new and improved Demons coming out sometime soon. Maybe by the time you hear this, it's even already out. I don't know. But you need to go look, because he really put up with us. He made us look cooler than we actually are. And you can see all these people in that video that I'm talking about. You can actually get a really good look at Randy, a good look at Dylan playing guitar. You even get to see my dumbass, and really, really mainly good shots of Hunter and Brandon. And then there's some mysterious masked fellows in the video. Who could they be? Maybe they're us. Maybe they're the dark side of us. I don't know. You decide what you think about it. But it's kind of a spooky video, and it is you'll see it at the beginning that says Casey Bishop Film. And we're very proud to have had Casey help us put together the Demons video, and also putting up. We look forward to collaborating with Mr. Bishop and Bishop Media on future projects involving Burn the City. So thanks so much for listening, you guys. We appreciate it. This is kind of a bonus episode. I'm sorry that you had to hear me talk only through the whole thing, but at least you got to hear a bunch of these talented guys play music, and that's the big thing. So, and if I didn't mention I play guitar in Burn the City, I think everybody probably figured that out by now. And thanks for listening, you guys. We appreciate it. We're going to release a lot more stuff. We got other stuff recorded already. We're getting it mastered. And before you know it, especially if this pandemic ends, we might be playing a show. We'd love to see all of you there. We encourage crowd participation. We want to be a big, active, fun rock band. We want it to be a spectacle. We want for Burn the City gig to be a real event. And we hope to play with our friends in Reason to Find, who have been featured on the Beacon House podcast, and any other really great local bands. So look us up. Check us out. Please tune into Beacon House every week. Please subscribe. Please like. Please tell your friends about it. We work real hard to put this podcast out and try to turn you guys on to cool stuff, interview cool people, and I hope that you guys are having a safe and happy time. And this is Spence from Beacon House Podcast and Burn the City, signing off. Have a good night.